On the night of October 15th, 1991, the world of Elaine Rodas changed forever. That evening, she walked through the front door of her Portland home after a long night shift at the hospital. She was tired, worn down by hours of caring for patients, but comforted by one thought: her 5-year-old daughter, Izzy, fast asleep upstairs. But when she entered Izzy's bedroom, her heart stopped. The bed was empty. The blankets were pushed aside as though a small body had simply risen and vanished into the air. The window stood open, curtains fluttering in the cool autumn breeze. Outside, the faint trail of muddy footprints led across the grass and then disappeared into the night. Elaine's scream echoed through the quiet house. The police came quickly. They searched the home, the yard, the street. Flyers were printed and stapled to telephone poles. A press conference was held. Neighbors canvassed every alley and wooded path in the area. But no ransom note ever came. No sightings were confirmed, and no body was ever found. For months, Elaine clung to hope. But as the years passed, hope turned to grief, and grief hardened into silence. The loss shattered her marriage. Her husband, Charles Rodas, grew increasingly distant. He spent long hours in the basement, claiming to work on his carpentry projects. He locked the door and told Elaine it was dangerous for her to go inside. Elaine assumed it was his way of coping, of burying his pain in wood and nails and sawdust. But in truth, she could never have imagined what secrets that basement held. By 1996, the couple divorced. Elaine lived alone, and every night, she stared at an old photograph of Izzy, bright-eyed, gap-toothed, smiling, a little girl forever frozen in time. The police eventually marked the case cold. Elaine told herself her daughter was gone, but deep down, she never stopped searching for signs. She just never expected the truth to arrive 9 years later, in the most horrific way imaginable. It began on an ordinary evening in the year 2000. Elaine returned to Charles's house, the home they once shared, to help repair an old wardrobe that had begun to wobble. Despite their divorce, she still had a key. She entered quietly, expecting the familiar silence. But something was off. The upstairs hallway was lit. A thin line of light spilled out from beneath the door of Charles's office. Elaine frowned. Charles wasn't supposed to be home. She called his name. No answer. But then she heard it, movement. Drawers slamming, papers scattering, frantic footsteps. Her heart pounded as she pushed the office door open. Inside was not Charles. It was Matthew Tenko, Charles's oldest friend. The office was ransacked. Files and papers littered the carpet. Binders were ripped open, books thrown carelessly from the shelves. Elaine's voice trembled. "Matthew, what are you doing here?" The man who turned toward her was not the man she remembered from barbecues and birthday parties years ago. His skin was pale, slick with sweat. His pupils were dilated. He reeked of alcohol. When Elaine reached for the phone, Matthew lunged. His hands gripped her wrists, his voice flat and menacing. "What are you doing here?" Elaine fought. He dragged her down the hall, into Izzy's old bedroom, and pinned her against the bed. In desperation, she grabbed the nearest object, a pink ceramic elephant nightlight, and smashed it into his temple. Matthew staggered, dazed. Elaine shoved him off, but before she could escape, he shoved her against the wardrobe. The heavy piece of furniture toppled, crashing to the floor with a thunderous crack. And with it, the floor splintered. From the wreckage rose a cloud of dust, and the sight of something that made Elaine's blood run cold. Hidden beneath the boards was a cavity, and inside, stacked in neat rows, were cardboard boxes, each one stuffed with VHS tapes. Matthew's eyes locked on them, his face twisted into a grin. "This," he whispered, "this is what I was looking for." He dropped to his knees, clawing through the boxes, pulling out tapes like they were treasure. Elaine tried to stop him, but he shoved past her, clutching a handful of tapes, and bolted down the stairs. Within seconds, he was gone. Elaine stood there, trembling, staring at the open cavity. Her hands shook as she picked up one of the tapes. On its label, written in Charles's neat handwriting, were the words, "Princess Room, Volume 23. Her breath caught in her throat. It was the same phrase she had once heard whispered on Izzy's old tape recorder, the one she'd found years earlier, tucked beneath her daughter's pillow. And in that instant, the truth began to claw its way into the light. Elaine dialed 911. Detectives arrived within minutes. Among them was Detective Morrison, a seasoned investigator with sharp eyes and a quiet, steady presence. He listened carefully as Elaine explained. He examined the boxes, lifting the tapes with gloved hands. Then he slid one into a player. The screen flickered to life. On it, a room appeared, painted pink, decorated with stuffed animals and princess sheets. A little girl sat on the bed, 5 years old, blonde hair, bright eyes. Izzy. Elaine gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Charles's voice came from behind the camera. Now, pose for Daddy. Izzy shifted uncomfortably, confusion on her small face. Moments later, Charles stepped into the frame. He sat beside her. His hands moved in ways no father's hands should ever move. Elaine screamed, collapsing onto the couch. "Turn it off. Please, turn it off." Morrison quickly stopped the tape. His voice was calm but urgent. "Mrs. Rodas, we need to know. Could your daughter still be in this house?" Elaine's eyes snapped toward the basement door. For years, Charles had kept it locked, claiming it was dangerous, filled with tools. He never let her inside. The possibility struck her like lightning. "The basement," she whispered. "He's always kept it locked." Morrison's jaw tightened. "Then we're going in." Officers brought breaching tools. With each blow of the battering ram, the heavy oak door rattled. The fourth strike sent it crashing open. The basement looked ordinary at first. Workbenches lined with neat rows of tools, shelves of hardware, screws, nails, a washer and dryer in the corner. But something was wrong. Behind the washer, the wall looked irregular, a seam almost invisible. When officers pulled the machines away, the seam revealed a hidden panel. Morrison pried it open with a crowbar. Behind it, a narrow passage stretched into darkness. Fairy lights hung from the ceiling, unplugged but ready to glow. The walls were covered in soundproofing. The smell of mildew and human habitation lingered in the air. At the end of the passage was a door, painted pink, decorated with princess stickers. Morrison knocked firmly. "Police, open the door." For a moment, silence. Then a voice, a young, cheerful voice. "Daddy, you're early." The handle turned, and standing in the doorway was a girl, 14 years old, blonde hair tangled, body thin, eyes wide. "Izzy." For a heartbeat, she smiled. Then she saw Morrison and the officers. Her face crumpled into fear. "No, you're not real. Daddy said everyone's dead." Elaine pushed forward, tears streaming down her face. "Izzy, darling, it's Mommy. I'm here." The girl screamed, pressing against the wall. "No, my mom died. Daddy told me the world ended. He said it's just us." Elaine dropped to her knees, pulled a pen from Morrison's pocket, and drew a butterfly on her palm. A simple butterfly with a smiley face. The same one she used to draw on Izzy's hand every night before bed. "Remember this?" Elaine whispered. "Your happy butterfly?" Izzy froze, her eyes locked on the drawing. Slowly, recognition broke through the fog. "Mommy!" Elaine opened her arms. And this time, Izzy flew into them. Officers swarmed. Paramedics checked Izzy. Elaine clung to her daughter, still unable to believe she was real. Meanwhile, another team raided a nearby house. Inside, they found Charles. Not alone. 7 other men sat in the living room, projector still running, a tape still playing. The footage was labeled Princess Room, Volume 962. The men called themselves the Family Sanctum. They rotated homes, shared recordings, and traded their children like currency. Charles was the star. His recordings were their prized collection. Elaine confronted him as officers led him away in handcuffs. Her palm cracked against his face in a furious slap. "You're a monster," she spat. "You're not human." Charles didn't flinch. His voice was calm, almost smug. She loved me. It was consensual. The words made Elaine's stomach twist. In the interrogation room, Charles spoke with unnerving pride. I took her that night, he said. Elaine was working late. I carried Izzy downstairs into the princess room I built. She never woke. The police bought the abduction story. I even filed fake blueprints. He smiled. For 9 years, she lived with me. I told her the world had ended, that we were the last 2 people alive. She believed every word. When asked why, his answer was chilling. She was mine, my creation. Why shouldn't I keep her? I gave her everything. Food, toys, love. And when she came of age, I told her it was her duty to rebuild humanity with me. Every word was a dagger. Elaine, watching from behind the glass, collapsed into a chair. The man she had once married, the father of her child, revealed himself as something else entirely. Predator, a manipulator, a monster hidden in plain sight. Izzy's rescue was only the beginning. At the station, the girl's fragile world unraveled. She clung to her mother, sobbing. Dad lied to me about everything. He said you were dead. He said the world was gone. Why did he do that to me? Elaine's tears matched her daughter's. I don't know, baby, but none of it was your fault. Not 1 second of it. The road ahead would be long therapy, medical exams, courtrooms, years of healing. But as Elaine stroked her daughter's hair, she whispered a vow. We'll face it together. We'll build a safe home. You'll go to school. You'll have friends. A real life. We'll make new memories, brighter ones. Izzy's small voice trembled. I'm scared, Mom. Elaine kissed her forehead. Me too, but we're together now. And together we can face anything. Because evil can wear the mask of love, can hide in the familiar. It can burrow beneath the floorboards of an ordinary home. But true love, the fierce, protective love of a mother for her child, endures. It searches through silence. It breaks down walls. It never stops believing. And sometimes, against all odds, it brings the lost back home.